If I stop the meeting now, then, I mean, I hear this microphone definitely has feedback. I'm not sure why the other microphones don't.
We hear in.
I can hear a reverb.
Coming from.
That's me.
Yeah, are you guys able to hear me? Okay, I cannot hear you. No. No, I cannot. I can hear you from outside, but not from the computer speaker.
USB. USB B, the USB A.
Okay. It all has my name.
Only the message is coming.
Hi, Alex. Can you hear me?
Yes. Adrian,
Hey, just FYI, we're having some, like, we're just getting set up now. We're having some technical issues with the audio, and we're working on that now. He can hear me. Yes.
Check 1, 2.
Did you hear anything else?
I can hear the background. I can hear
Wait,
like
hold
check,
on
check,
1
1, 2
second. I need to, I can't hear you. Okay, can you, hold on.
Then we got,
Can you speak again?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, I can hear you now. But this meeting might be delayed while we're figuring out what's happening with the soundboard here. Okay, so
Okay, thanks.
I'll keep you posted.
Sounds good. Good luck over there.
Okay, great, thanks.
I'm gonna.
No, it should be.
Yeah. can you please let us know if you can hear us?
I can hear.
Right. So make sure we're all muted.
Yeah. Yes.
Check that. And members online, let us know if you can hear us.
Yes, Adrian, I can hear you. This is Alex.
Great. All right, thank you.
I can hear you, but you're not coming through very clearly.
You cannot hear us, member Clementon?
No, I can hear you, but not too clearly. There's an echo. Are you?
Oh, you cannot hear,
speaking, Alex?
can't hear Alex.
There was an echo earlier, but I don't hear it anymore.
That. Let me discuss that.
Not anymore. That's it.
They said there's not any one.
They said not anymore.
So,
Let's have it.
so is that a 60% threshold, but it's not that.
So Alex, were you able to hear member Clementon?
Yes, I could remember Swiminathon. Yes.
Member Clementon, can you hear Alex?
Yes, now it's better, I think.
Now you can?
Please.
Okay.
Did you put it in the chat that was running long?
Right, yes.
I can't do that. It's one of the queue.
Well, there's not, yeah, there's chat is turned off, so I'm gonna have to announce it.
Well, you probably turn it on for yourself.
But as long as we can all hear each other, I think that we should be ready to begin. How are we doing, Avery?
Yeah, I think that's. It's gonna get us.
Okay. How about we start? And we will see if we have any further issues.
You're right. All right. Good evening. This is the AO Community Energy Community Advisory Committee meeting of Monday, September 16, 2024. It's about 6:15 here in the Big Merit Room in Casa East Bay Oakland Center, Oakland, California, with a few people remote. But with that, we can do welcome. Hello, everybody, and roll call.
Thank you very much. Member Landon,
Present.
member Hugh, member Boston,
Present.
he's president. Oh, we've heard of that. Member Stevenson, member Swaminathan,
Present.
member Lakshman, present. Member Pacheco, member Carr. Member Carr. Member Harper. Hold on, let me just promote myself, member Harper. Member Lewis. President. Vice Chair Susan.
Present.
Chair
Present.
Hernandez. We have a forum.
And member Bacchus, who reached the meeting. All right, this is item C2, public comment. This item is reserved for persons wishing to address the committee on any Ava Community Energy related matters that are not otherwise on the community agenda. Public comments on matters listed on the agenda shall be heard at the time matters called. As with all public comment, members of the public who wish to address the committee are customarily limited to 3 minutes per speaker and must complete an electronic speaker slip. Committee chair may decrease the time allotted for each speaker. Adrian, how many public speakers do we have?
We have 2 hands raised. Audrey Uchinoste?
We'll stick to 3 minutes then.
Yes.
Thank you.
You recognize the 3 minutes.
Thanks very much. Audrey Uchinose, East Bay Clean Power Alliance and the California Alliance for Community Energy. The question of the PG&E's offer of a nuclear power allotment is not on this agenda, and I intend to submit a comment about it to the board, and I hope that comment is sent to CAC members. But in writing this comment, which starts off with my memory of the very first time that the allotment offer was made, it reminded me of our origins as a public agency, and how small we were, we were battling. And so it moved me to think about two things that I'd like to relate to you. One was to thank the early advocates of CCAs, and that includes even the present board members, Cynthia Landry, Ernie Pacheco, Jim Lutz, and although she is maybe less immediately engaged, and Olivia Eldridge. Now, these people have really been behind EBCE and now AVA all the way. And it takes a lot. They are workers, they are union people, they have busy lives. And I think we should really salute them, appreciate them, all that they've done from our early days. Secondly, I'd like to suggest that periodically AVA look back on its roots to kind of refresh its memory about its objectives, and not just for nostalgic purposes, but to serve as a check, a guide for the way in which the programs are being developed, how AVA is continuing to expand and provide services to its many, many communities, including the disadvantaged ones. So I really want to appreciate the volunteers like that I've mentioned, and to hope that periodically we do look back on EBCE, now AVA's evolution, and we use that as a guide going forward. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Brendan Pittman, recognized for 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Brendan Pittman from Berkeley, California. I rise today in advance of Wednesday's board meeting on the generation portfolio future of the Bright Choice Plan. Currently, the Bright Choice Plan is one of the highest emissions factors of all economy style rate plans in the Bay Area CCA network. I'm optimistic that with leadership from the board of directors this Wednesday, this rate plan could take an important step to reducing the emissions intensity through the selection of staff recommendation 1, 2, or 3 to accept the allocation. Benefits would either allow up to $20 million in savings and costs to be passed on to various items in the organization, and or reduce the amount of unspecified energy required. That's really what I want to talk about right now. I previously expressed my thoughts to this committee on your recommendation a few months ago, and I'm not going to get into that. However, I want to bring to the attention of the Bright Choice Plan portfolio and its use of unspecified energy, and perhaps a larger theme of AVA and other CCAs employing this tool in their procurement strategy. Unspecified energy was developed in a purposely vague way and is often nebulous to describe to the layman, something I empathize with staff and other people trying to describe it objectively. Here's how the California Energy Commission describes it. Unspecified power refers to the electricity that is not traceable to specific generation sources by any auditable contract, trail, or equivalent. Unspecified power also includes electricity purchased through open markets, even if the energy can be traced back to the specific resources, right? It also has a power factor, GHG emissions factor of 943 pounds of CO2 per megawatt hour. which is similar to a natural gas generator. This unspecified power goes back California Bill 32, Assembly Bill 32, Global Warming Solutions Act of 2006. According to that, let's see, sorry, be conscious of time here. Imports must be reported as specified when they have proof of direct delivery and a written contract or ownership stake. In 2022, of the approximately 84,000 gigawatt hours imported to California, 64,000 of those hours were specified sources, ranging from coal to nuclear to solar. The other 20,000 were unspecified because they could not meet that specified sourcing requirement. It really makes you wonder then, what are these sources? Where are they coming from? While they cannot be traced, it is likely that this unspecified energy is either natural gas, oil, or coal. Regardless, the Ava Energy Right Choice Plan currently is planned for 30% unspecified energy in this year. So this is worrisome to me as it runs counter to openness and transparency principles. I rise to say that we should commit to eliminating unspecified energy in the portfolio. Thank you.
Thank you. There are no further hands raised at this time.
We have one in the.
Can I?
Yes, please.
Oh, great.
You have
Address?
my apologies. You need to introduce yourself.
If you introduce yourself.
Just be yourself.
No, thank you. My name is Ayla Peters-Potts. I am representing both as a member of the public and with Local Clean Energy Alliance. I just wanted to first express thank you to the Community Advisory Committee for saying no to the PG&E nuclear allocations back in the May Community Advisory Committee meeting. We believe, Local Clean Energy Alliance and many members of the public believe that these nuclear allocations distract from clean energy investments of wind and solar, as Ava Community Energy has a mandate and since the beginning has promised to commit to solar and wind, especially because a lot of Ava Community Energy's customers are paying a premium to receive 100% clean renewable energy. And so thank you for the May vote against the nuclear allocations. This is also a reminder at the Wednesday meeting. I just wanted to remind folks on the Community Advisory Committee that you can speak as a member of the public and offer your opinions, as it's not against the rules for you to speak as a member of the public, as someone who lives in Ava Community Energy territory. So if you want to vote against the nuclear, or yes, if you want to vote toward the nuclear, I would like to make sure that the CAC knows that you can make your vote heard, especially since this will be an extremely tight vote. And we want to make sure that Ava Community Energy votes against the nuclear again, because this distracts from clean renewable investments. This vote has come up again and again. The public has made their voice very clear that we don't want nuclear in our power mix. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
There are no further hands raised at this time.
Thank you very much. With that, we'll go to item C3, which is approval of the minutes from July 15, 2024. Hopefully everybody had a good month of August. Any comments, adjustments, or any revisions made to those minutes shared previously or provided via the Ava Community website, the new website I hear too, as of September 9th. No adjustments or changes. I'll take a motion to accept.
Motion to approve, Member Landry.
Any further discussion, dialogue, concerns? Seeing none in the room, we'll go with that roll call vote on it, please.
Great, thank you. Member Landry.
Yes.
Member Moccasin.
Yes.
Member Spelman.
Yes.
Member Lockman,
Yes.
Member DeFranco,
Yes.
Member Carr,
Yes.
Member Harper,
Yes.
Member Lewis,
Yes.
Vice Chair Susan,
Yes.
Chair Hernandez,
Yes.
minutes are approved.
Thank you. We'll jump to this item C4, the chair report. I'll try to be brief and concise. At the last board meeting of the U.S. Community Energy meeting was July 17th. There was a public comment discussing resilient hubs. The request by the public to also reject the nuclear allocation, opposing the inclusion of nuclear power. Ella Peters also spoke about resilient hubs and extended an invitation to organize a study session to discuss that work. Then we'll discuss more about how CAC will be evolving, maybe through a 2.0 discussion more about not really looking at per se the agenda, but rather having dialogues and discussion. I think maybe a planned retreat or meet and greet with our new CEO of Howard in November. So there'll be more information to come on that within the time. Everybody will be asked to come in November, hopefully in person if you can, to have a meet and greet, discussing and how we want to evolve and discuss further what they want to cover more, building hubs or other items of interest. So it'll be more of a conversation, maybe a work session as we build interest to see how we evolve our committee than just marrying the agenda, which will have some important items to discuss, but be more of a, let's see how we want to work together to evolve, how we add suggestions, policy, direction, support to the overall board directors to move our agency forward. Furthermore, the consent item was approved that evening. And then I believe Howard Channing mentioned more about that extension of engaging with stakeholders. I did meet with Howard and staff to discuss this further. I think Alex was there, but the child was not. So hello, child. On screen. I think some of the members were there. I think he also, like Howard mentioned that they also approved a solar storage project in Fresno County. The off-take for 100 megawatts of solar and 30 megawatts of storage from this project. He summarized about $14 million in COVID debt relief and $50 bill credit for care and federal customers, over $12 million, and ongoing efforts to increase enrollment in those programs. There are further comments. I believe we have a new member, he's a new council member, Igor Trepu, will be now on the board of directors. There was a lack of swearing in, so you can make comment as a public member and discussing that energy during questions around that. I did give a report about the expression that supported the Fremont R100 default request, the interest in proposed resilient hub studies session, and the information about Member Pacheco around, which was around procurement and long-term resources, those 10 gigabytes that's offshore wind by 2035. Then thereafter, item 15 was about the renewable 100 cost allocation methodology, discussing how adding new territories and looking at charging dynamic and looking at 3 different options, but it's more information items, so we should probably see that in the future. Evaluating how that would be cost out. There's some discussions about organization being added, and I think in our discussion, overall, they move forward and getting that information, but Fremont R100 default request, I believe, was approved unanimously. And they also included the San Joaquin County into the JPA as our membership. They followed through with the e-bike program implementation contract, really looking at e-bikes incentive premiums, 1,000 to almost 4,000. That passed. And then going back to the public speaker comment, talking more about our decision back in May, we did move forward the item to reject the allocation here. That was presented back on May 19th. So we voted and passed that to give that recommendation to reject the allocation. I think that's all I have in my report. Am I missing something? And then you had the the bidirectional charting documents you might receive via email. Pass the mic to member about the student if you want to speak to those articles briefly.
Sure. Have notes. I wanted, so the conversation came up originally to follow up in terms of the way we're tracking legislation in the legislature. But I wanted to include those because it seems like that's a really positive thing that I don't know if everybody knows about them, so I wanted to share that information, but basically what bidirectional charging is two-way energy transfer. And Oakland just started, they have 74 new school buses that are the V2G buses. And so there is a possibility, and it's coming up, and it's actually, I was reading in some of the notes that it's being required, I guess, in California by 2027. So I think it's like, I don't know if it passed the SB 233, but I wanted everybody to have like information. Some of it's a little bit dated right now because they've come up with new inverters and things. So, but I think it's something that instead of installing a dual use of a car and a power wall, like using a car for your own power storage, it seems like a really cost-effective thing that people could do. And so I just wanted to introduce that and hope that somehow they can support that.
Thank you very much for sharing that information. I read through that document to talk more about the board models that have an F-150. Yeah, those are more bi-directional, and the dynamic diagrams are rather complicated. There's 6 pieces of it too.
Well, the new the Volkswagen ID series, those models are now bi-directional as well. And that and there's a Tesla has tested it, and so it's coming. I mean, it's kind of out there, and I think we should get in front of it somehow.
Yeah, and I think that's part of more of the regular session. We can talk about those kind of issues and try and support with staff to see how we can work supporting initiatives to bring that more to the homes. With that, that's my only, and then let's see, we'll go to Member Landry for a comment.
Yes, thank you. I know we're not, we don't have the nuclear allocation on tonight's agenda because we passed it. We voted not to support it the last time, but I did want to say that SEIU Local 1021, the Climate Justice Committee voted to oppose the nuclear allocation, and also Local 1021, SEIU Local 1021 has also voted to oppose the nuclear allocation. And I just want to bring that forward. I'm a member of the Northern County, and I'm also a member of the executive board of Local 1021. Thank you.
Member Landry, can you repeat the association that opposed the nuclear allocation? Can you repeat the organizations?
Oh, yes. SEIU Local 1021, Service Employees International Union Local 1021, and also its Climate Justice Committee.
Thank you. Just for the note, and on the 18th, I will be absent, so Vice Chair Suda will lead the CAC report. I'll be celebrating my birthday and having some other activities. So that's, thank you very much, and thank you, Member Vice Chair, for that. Any other comments from our committee? Yes, Member, please. Thank you, the microphone, please.
Looking at the online vote, and they include here bi-directional EV charging, but they don't include all of that, everything you just spoke of.
I can make a comment if that's what I should do.
Which item specifically are you asking about, the chair report or the bi-directional items?
The item on the website for this meeting, C4 CAC share report.
Yes.
All it contains is the bi-directional materials.
And so I spoke to the minutes of the board of directors agenda to recap what was discussed there.
You didn't submit that document, that's a document in the chair's report.
So yeah, there is no per se document in the chair report, nobody took report. So there's no chair report on the student TV right now beforehand. Submitted before by the deadline, which I could do summarize beforehand. As a chair to draft something and get submitted to the agenda, which might be helpful for my own business. So I could do that too if you'd like me to.
hate to ask you to do more, but it would be
Oh,
helpful.
yeah, it'll be my own talking points, but yes, I can do something for a chair report. But that's right, so Adrian, I'll take games. We'll do that in improvement, and then whoever's the next chair will be in charge of that responsibility. I may just nominate Jim right now. That's-
Out of here. No, this-
What? Debates, side notes. With that, we move forward to be efficient. We'll look at item C5, ballot initiative discussion. If the board considers an item, consider taking the position on proposition 4. Do you have a staff member speaking on that, Adrian? You are?
Yep.
Yes, sir. Please.
Good evening, all. I'm Todd Eggleston. I'm the director of the policy group here at AVA. I'm also the deputy general counsel. And I've got 2 items for you today. We've got this item 5 on proposition 4, and then also item 6, which is the real-time pricing pilots. So I'm going to put on my lawyer hat for a moment and preface the introduction of the proposition 4 discussion with a little bit of law for you. You'll notice that the memo here is a little bit thin. That's because there's state law that prohibits staff from spending time advocating for outcomes in elections, specifically Government Code Section 54964A. Prohibits any officer or employee, which would be staff, from expending or authorizing the expenditure of any funds of a local agency to support or oppose the approval or rejection of a ballot measure. It is unlawful, this is Government Code 8314, it's unlawful for any elected state or local officer, including any state or local appointee, employee, or consultant to use or permit others to use public resources for campaign activity, etc. So there are some exceptions to this which allow for de minimis work by staff on election-related items, specifically to offer organizations such as AVA's board an opportunity to take a position on a ballot item, but that's the extent of it. So what you see in the memo is essentially a recap of the information that the Attorney General has provided in the ballot materials, and also the state legislative, the state legislative analysis of the ballot materials. So with those caveats, I'm happy to step you through the particulars of it, but I'm not here to advocate on for any particular outcome with respect to the ballot measure. So just to tee up the conversation a little bit, this is a $10 billion ballot measure, just for the public now, to spend on essentially climate change related activities. And so if you look at the memorandum, you'll see attached to it the ballot materials for it. And if you look there on figure 1, key goals of proposition for bond funds, you see how the proceeds from the bonds are to be spent. Most pertinent to us as an energy organization are the energy infrastructure items. If you look on the table there, it's to support the state's shift to more renewable resources, to more renewable sources of energy, such as offshore wind, with $850 million being allocated to that end. So let me stop there, see if you had any questions.
I have a question about the amount of money. Is that
Go figure.
so? When I did the math of the 400 million over 40-year period, I get 16 billion instead of 10 billion. So I was wondering why that difference. Is that the interest?
Yeah, the 10 billion is the nominal amount, but then there's interest charge on top of that.
Of 6 billion.
I mean, the ballot, I can read to you the ballot measure opposition, which I think.
No, I did. I read that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Other questions from the committee?
Yes, can you clarify what you just said? I did look the materials over. So is the 6 billion, is that the cost over the term of the bond, or is it, what is the annual cost?
The annual repayment cost of $400 million per year over 40 years. That from the legislative analyst estimate of the net state and local government fiscal impact,
Okay.
which is on the first page of the ballot materials.
Okay.
Other questions or comments in the room, online from the committee? Member comments up. Member.
Yeah, I assume the way they allocate the money is nailed down and they have to spend the fraction on offshore wind and fraction on transmission and fraction on long-term storage batteries. Those amounts hardwired? Or are they just suggested?
Well, I can quote for you the legislative analyst's remarks on that. So if we look on, it's marked page 26. I think it's the third page of the materials that are attached to the memorandum. Under the energy infrastructure bullet, it says more than half of the 850 million would support the development of wind turbines off the California coast. Most of the remaining money would pay for building infrastructure, such as transmission lines to carry electricity long distances, 325 million. The rest of the money would pay for projects to build large batteries and store electricity for when it is needed, 50 million.
That's what I was asking about. If battery technology improves quicker than transmission environmental reports, then that's been, permission is granted. And more batteries would offset transmission because they spend more money on batteries than on transmission, or is it hardwired in?
I would refer that question to bond counsel.
Okay.
So I have a question about, with the goals of AVA, focused on renewables. It seems to me that the focus is kind of all of the map, which I guess is why you were asking that question a little bit. But so I guess I didn't see anything that was really talking about, specifically renewable energy sources. I mean, we know that battery and solar and wind are in there. They don't talk about whether it be undergrounded, which seems like if that's not specified, if we're just building transmission lines and we're starting fires, that's and then also there seems like the money would be well spent if there was a piece of this that talked about low income ratepayers, which is not really included, and signing up for Renewable 100. And then also it's not clear how the people that have the original NEMS program or the current NEMS 2 would benefit from this. So I guess my question is, in terms of the overall context, what drove this to be the way it was created? Do you have that context of?
Yeah, I do not know how it is.
It seems kind of all over the map, right? Oh, yeah, doesn't matter.
I'm going to remain assiduously neutral.
There is a comment about legislation and sausage that you don't want to see how they're paid. I think that might apply.
But in the context of the money part, when I was just trying to look at what the CEC's budget is. The CEC is it true that's like a $1.32 billion budget? So would the CEC be overseeing this money, or I don't know what their budget is. I was thinking I was looking at, try to find out what the context of it. 16 or 10 billion in the context of what CEC works on. The question is it appropriate for a bond to be made for this versus, I think there was even a comment about this, versus this to be like the way the state should be funding our energy infrastructure. I mean, rather than having it being paid by taxpayers in a bond. Is that a question?
I'm not sure if it's a question or not. It seems to me like an argument to judge that we have to do evaluate renewable levels.
Thank you. Yes, I think there's a discussion dialogue. You look at the items here, you discuss the value of having a bond. I think energy infrastructure is important, knowing that transmission lines are limited on what they can carry across the grid, and hardening the technology. Excuse me, is important. Sorry. Yeah.
I know people get emotional about
this. I know about battery storage, or wind. But I think I'm very supportive of moving us forward. I know bonds are expensive, but this is important to move us forward. Hopefully the voters are aligned and committees aligned to support this resolution. And the proposition 4 and the next year balance. With any other public comment, Adrian, on this item?
Yes, Brendan, progress for 3 minutes.
Sorry. Yeah, this just came to my attention. I think we really have to evaluate this against AVA's founding documents and its principles. I have a few questions, where does is this a normal type item that comes up during general elections about the evaluation of propositions, specifically bonds? I know the 850 million out of the 10 million is energy related, but it's for infrastructure. It's for California, offshore wind, which is a big question mark. Very controversial on the Central Coast, whether you're for or against it. Check out the Apple Beach Coalition. Electricity, trends, getting from different sectors, very, very important. But again, to the honorable lady's comment about, is this something that the state should already be doing through FERC, through some of these other institutions? It's a big question mark. I haven't read enough about this to know whether I even want to support it. You're floating a bond without, key specifics, big bonds like this, building the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Building BART, you can evaluate those on their merits. This is all just kind of key goals. That's a big question mark. So, as a member of the public, it's hard for me to say, hey, community choice aggregate should be weighing in on a bond proposition, not a lot of specifics. I know one of the founding items in AVA's charter is to promote renewable energy. I think it should be promoting clean energy rather than renewable. I think it's a questionable word. And so if you believe that that's appropriate, then I guess take that action. But this one's a big question mark for me. Just my thoughts. Thank you.
Other dialogue or questions or comments with the committee? Discussion? Sure.
Can anybody speak to the general fund and, just, this would be less than 0.5% of the state's total general fund budget. But at the same time, will any of these monies be, siphoned off at, the general fund? And I don't know if you can answer that, but I do know a lot of money is, we're talking about a lot of money. And we want to be responsible. So, I see all of these things that we're talking about, from everything from protecting the coast to fire and extreme heat that we're looking at in our future for our population. And again, I think everybody else has already expressed this, but this is kind of all over the place. And I just I would like to see some accountability built into this.
In regards to bonds, somebody you would have a advisory committee or watchdog with these kind of bonds and discuss making sure their money is being used. I think ACTC that was part of the watchdog committee for one of the measures there. I would assume that it's the same case with this large bond. Making sure it's being utilized as it's supposed to be. And I know this is an item of interest, and I think it's a consent item, I think for the board, but for us to recommend take the position now to be up to the will of the committee to take the position or not. And we can take the position. Let me see. It is a board consent item, so we can vote on it, not vote on it, no action. It's up to this committee.
My opinion is we should be, looking at who supported this. It looked like that a lot of the environmental organizations were very supportive of this. So that makes me think, oh, we should think about it. But on the other hand, when I think about bond measures, I think that I'm asking my daughter to pay bills for 50 years. So I'm not sure that. So I guess I would recommend we be neutral. Be neutral.
Position on that. And we don't necessarily need to vote, we're gonna stay neutral, we can just move forward and like Dennis, member under your choice.
Yeah, I'm just, I'm not an expert on Prop 4, but I do see some things here, that I do like, which is, it states that it could offset, local government costs. And, there is a, provision here, for an investment in, community resilience. And it would be for competitive grants, for the creation of, might be on the wrong page here, but, I believe resilience hubs. Yes, strategically located community resilience hubs across diverse regions. And it does talk about, transmission lines. I know we're not in the business of, transmission line, but it does appear to have a focus on reducing resilience on fossil fuel plant in disadvantaged communities. So there are some good things to this measure, and I certainly support clean water and wildfire mitigation. But I don't know that I know enough to have a real opinion on this measure. But there are some good points here, especially with potentially reducing costs for local governments, and also investments in disadvantaged communities vis-a-vis resilience hubs.
If you remember, I also looked at the notes, talks about independent annual audits as well. And so let's have strong fiscal responsibility, accountability, and transparency. Remember Marcus's comments about now putting some debt on our children. I think part of it is being more resilient in the community, so they have a future to enjoy that the pollution concerns and fires that we've been seeing. So I think we can find a way to invest in our future. Maybe this is a way forward. But I have to respect the will of the committee to stay neutral on this, as it seems to be more information. Maybe this body needs to be better informed as we get closer to election day, independently, collectively. And we can just leave it at that unless we can take a motion to support or oppose with the neutral. But if we say neutral, no actions needed.
I think I would also just like to add that I don't think $50 million is really enough to really move it down in battery storage. I think the amount, it seems to me that if we're really focusing on Ava's goals, that we should be supporting a bill that's more, although some of this is aligned with our goals, but it's just so, it's like, let's throw everything into one basket instead of, in my mind, making a commitment to say, let's do a bill specifically for water. Let's do a bill specifically for battery storage and do that. We'll do a bond, I think, on specific battery storage facility. That would be really a commitment. And I feel like this is like, maybe, I don't know why, but it's just everything is put all here in one bill. And I think it doesn't send a very good message as to the commitment of what we're trying to do about climate change.
Yes, I agree. I think that this is a big wish list. And I would like to see a little bit, as you said, more transparency. Where's the money coming from? Will the wind turbines actually offset some of this money spent? So I mean, a little bit more information. I also cannot make a decision on it without information.
All right. Any other comments from our members?
Would it be appropriate for us to, if the board does not take a position on Prop 4 at its upcoming meeting, can we can we table our discussion to our next meeting? And, maybe get, further information on Prop 4? What's that?
I think we can, we've already discussed that, so we can table the vote if we like to, or just re-agendize it in the October period if the board has chosen not to take direction.
Yes.
And if they can table their, board to October, then it's worse. Mention it again.
Yes.
But during the board director meeting, you can make comment that I'd like to get more information on this item. I think that would be consensus of this group.
Yeah, do you want me to elaborate on that or?
Whatever you go, but yes. Any other comments on this item here? No, go on to the next item.
Is this an action item for us?
It's a consent item and we can take a position or no position, but at one point we're just saying intro, so. We don't necessarily need to vote unless we're to say yea or nay. There's no motion that I heard from the table to take that formal position against for it.
Yeah, we'll just encapsulate it then into, we discussed it, but we feel that more information is needed for us to really know what proposition before means.
Thank you. With that, we'll go on to item C6, hourly pricing pilots.
Thank you. So let me lay the table a little bit before we get into the particulars of what's for the board on item C6. If we travel back in time to March of this year, staff presented to the board the LMS compliance plan. LMS's load management standards. And this was a plan to comply with regulations that the California Energy Commission, or the CEC, had adopted a year previously back in April of 2023. The CEC regulations have essentially two major prongs. One is a sort of informational element requiring that all those surveyed entities, of which AVA is one, provide to the CEC information on all of their time variant rates. So these are rates like time of use rates that do not remain the same throughout the 24 hours of the day, but rather change for different time periods. That's one element of the load management standards requirements. The other element relates to real-time prices. So the prices that we AVA pay for energy in the markets are time variant. They can vary by hour, they can vary by 10-minute intervals, depending on kind of when we're buying and what we're buying. That sort of variation can be really significant, on the order of hundreds, maybe even thousands of dollars, depending on which hours that you're looking at. We, like all load serving entities, frankly, nationwide, do not automatically pass those changes through. So customers normally just see a rate that will have a shoulder period, potentially a peak period, and an off-peak period. And then there may be further change depending on the season. But the variance between those different periods will remain the same. So if you had, say, a peak rate of 45 cents per kilowatt hour and an off-peak of, say, 30 cents per kilowatt hour, that 15-cent differential is a 15-cent differential, regardless of whether you're talking about, say, a midsummer period or, say, a spring period. Again, setting aside the seasonality, right? It's going to be 15 cents off-peak versus on-peak. Time variant rates are going to be much more granular. So a time variant rate could conceivably flow through in some form or fashion the full effect of the market price for energy, which, depending on the relevant CAISO price cap, could be as much as $1,000 or even $2,000 per megawatt hour, which translates to doing the math right about $100 per kWh. Do you want to see what that looks like? Look at Texas 2 years ago. Completely unmitigated. That's the extreme. I raise that not to suggest that's what we're going to do, but merely to illustrate the point. We've got the details on the particulars of the rate proposals here in both the memorandum and in the appendix to the PowerPoint that we shared with the FAP committee earlier this week. But again, just laying the table conceptually for what we're talking about here is to flow through those much more granular hourly prices that we see in the market to customers who are interested in potentially being able to respond to those price signals. So picking up where we left these in March, what we had proposed as our compliance plan to the CEC was to participate in 5 different flavors of PG&E proposed real-time pricing structures. So there was 1 rate and then there were 4 pilots that PG&E was contemplating at the time. In the plan that we submitted to the Energy Commission, we said, well, we will consider participating in those pilots, and here they are, but right now they're not fully baked. So we're not going to commit as of March to participating in something that may change before it actually gets implemented. Fast forward to today, now we know what at least 3 of those pilots are going to look like. And so that brings us to what we have before the board today. What we have proposed we do is participate in 2 of what are called expanded pilots. Right, and so if you look at the memorandum here, it references expanded pilots, which are expansions of a pilot that Valley Clean Energy has been undertaking with its agricultural pumping loads.
And should we bring it up the screen?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Thank you, just so we can look at the table that you're speaking to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Right.
We're looking at the table with the low adoption, medium adoption.
Yeah, this is actually page 3. Yep, that's it. Expanded pilots. So expanded pilots, these are expansion pilots that Valley Clean Energy has been running for its agricultural pumping loads. The expansion here is both geographic. It would expand not just now to Valley, but to us and to all of the other CCAs that are participating in these pilots. And it would also expand to a larger number of customer classes. So the idea here is that, and you can see them listed there, essentially any type of customer could find a rate that will allow them to participate in real-time pricing if they desired. The other pilot is the vehicle to grid integration pilot. It's the next page. Yep, thank you. Vehicle to grid integration pilot. This kind of came up a little bit earlier, but the idea here is that you'd be able to take advantage of essentially bidirectional charging to arbitrage those price differentials. If you've got a car with a battery, you could sell back to the grid when prices are high and buy when prices are low. And so if we go on to the next page there, Adrian, we talked here a little bit about the rate design. So this is not that's a straight flow through of the prices. The idea here is that customers will subscribe to a certain volume of electricity based on their historic usage. And then if they reduce their consumption during a particular period, they would get back the price of the electricity for that period. And conversely, if they use more than their historic usage during a particular period, they would pay the price. Now that's the concept. At least for the pilot period, we'll have what's called bill protection, which makes essentially one-way ratchet. Right? So the bill design here is such that if the customer uses more in a particular period, they actually won't pay for that excess pricing for that period. They'll just pay the otherwise applicable tariff. It's all carrot, no stick, is the structure. So how much will this cost, Ava? Well, it's a hard question to answer because we don't know 2 of the major variables here. 1, we're not sure how many folks are going to participate in this. And 2, we're not sure how they're going to change their behavior in response to their participation. So those are significant questions that make it very hard to analyze what the cost will be. And then you can layer in additional variables such as we don't know what the prices will be in the future as well. With all of that said, we provided some conservative estimates for the financial impact on Ava. If we scroll back to table 1. Thank you, sir. You'll see that the impact here could range actually from roughly, so this is the punchline, could range roughly from on the order of about $60,000 positive to about $250,000 negative to the agency. Again, contingent on a lot of variables, but principally how many folks participate in exactly what they do in response to the tariffs. The reason that it could be positive is because there is a PUC incentive of $20 per kW year that will be paid out from a separate fund other than our rates to CCS for participating in this. So we stand to get revenue from that source. There's some additional revenue potential here in the form of avoided costs for the agency as well, which we recognize but haven't fully modeled here. But we do want to note that because if folks drop their consumption, we end up writing a check to the customers for the amounts associated with their reduced consumption. And also buy less energy on the market. To some extent, those are offsetting. There's more detail in here, which I will go into if folks are interested, but I probably could set aside for the moment around the scenario analysis that we performed and what assumptions we did make regarding customer uptake. But the bottom line is, as I just outlined. So we're recommending participation in these pilots. Frankly, we don't have a lot of choice here. The regulations require that we undertake some form of real-time pricing. The numbers that we have seen in our analysis, are not enormous. Could be positive, in fact, even without accounting for the avoided cost benefits. And so consequently, we have before the board the proposal that you see here. I'll stop there and take any questions.
Thank you. We'll take some clarifying questions. Comments? Any questions of certain electricity?
That was me.
Soon, and go on release. And then I'm wondering.
I don't know if this is actually, well, I guess I just don't understand why let me ask about that. So, the RPPs are essentially spot pricing, right?
Correct.
So how will this be different than Texas?
Oh, it's the subscription model.
Because of the subscription, that's like a floor or ceiling?
Yeah, it's all about the rate design. So if you look in the memo, page 4, this one. Sorry, this page.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure. I saw that.
Right. So with this, you got two things going on. One is you've got the subscription, so you have up to your historic use is entirely on the otherwise applicable tariff. In contrast, in the Texas example, you would have been paying the spot price for the entirety of your consumption.
So there's no subscription.
In the Texas example.
Right.
Here there is. So we're really only talking about amounts above or below kind of normal historic usage. The normal historic usage just because it's the otherwise applicable rate. So it's a much lower amount of exposure. The second element is bill protection, which means that if you use more than your historic subscription amount, you're still just going to pay the otherwise applicable price for that, at least for the pilots.
And in January 2027, this happened anyway.
Some flavor of it, yeah. I mean, whether we participate or not, the CEC has made it very clear that they want / expect that we will participate.
Thank you.
I noticed in the documentation, that there's a commercial customer that said they want to do vehicle to grid, and if AVA doesn't do it, they'll revert back to PG&E.
Correct.
And so that alone seems good reason to support it.
It does.
Great, thank you.
I'd like to ask, how does the customer know what option to participate in? And then I know I see they're gonna get something. Customers will receive a performance report that reflects credit or charges based on customers' performance under the hourly price. But how does somebody know what to pay?
So there's two elements to your question. The first, how will customers know even to do this? There will be a marketing education outreach campaign around this rate. PG&E will be conducting one regardless of what we AVA choose to do. If AVA does choose to go forward with the proposal here, then we would engage in our own separate marketing education outreach process so the customers are aware of what's available to them. That's the first part of the question. Second part of your question, I think, is how will customers know what the prices are?
What the benefit is to them, actually.
Oh, okay, so that will be part of the, market education outreach process. The longer term answer to that question is part of the CECs. So I mentioned earlier that LMS has two components, right? It has the informational component and then it has the real-time pricing component. So the answer to your question longer term is this informational element that the CEC has been promoting, that we've been working with the CEC on, is supposed to make it possible to use essentially an app and calculate how you fare under different rate structures. So right now, the CEC is working to develop something called the single statewide tool, which is supposed to take all of the rates that we are already uploading to a database called Midas, and then make those available to essentially third-party providers who can enter on the modeling for customers to determine what's the best rate plan for customers. That's the end sort of state of the informational piece of the LMS, and that's supposed to be the answer to your question. It's very much a work in progress. Short of that, again, I think we'll have to consider that as part of the MUNO program. Like, how do we do some modeling here for the customers?
Yeah, I'd like to see, some feedback to the, customers that, they are picking the appropriate, rate for them. Yeah.
Thank you, members from the Donna.
Sorry, was it me?
Yes, please.
Okay, sorry. So thank you. So the subscription level, does it change by month or is it, say, fixed for the 12-month period?
Not sure how sensitive it is, actually.
I thought it said something about like the year that you true up at the end of the year.
Yeah, but true up at the end of the year. The question is, how granular is the subscription amount? And I don't know. I'll double check that.
Okay.
Hey, Todd, I could answer that if you'd like.
Oh, thank you, Mike. My
Can you
colleague.
hear me okay in the room? Cool.
Yeah,
So the subscription will be updated every month.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
And then the prices, how are they expected to become? This has to be automated, correct? So the kind of auto DR kind of framework where the prices are automatically communicated and the system responds accordingly?
Yeah, that's the goal, is to have this essentially done through the Internet of Things. There will also be an ability to manually access the day-ahead prices through a website that you can.
Okay, so it's automated. There is no human intervention required.
Not required.
Okay. And then where do the prices come from? What is the basis for the price? Avoided cost, but it's centralized throughout the state. It'll be the same price. And what's the basis of that avoided cost?
The avoided cost comes from the Cal ISO, the California Independent System Operator. They're the transmission grid operator. They also operate a variety of markets, including a day-ahead hourly pricing market. The information itself comes from the Cal ISO's OASIS system, open access information system.
So does it change by where you're located, or is it only generation and transmission and not distribution?
So any customer within PG&E's territory will pay the PG&E ELAP price, the load aggregation point price, which it will be a single price within PG&E service territory.
So it'll be not only the DLAP price, but also the transmission and the capacity too, correct?
There is a capacity, the transmission price, no, the transmission price is not hourly variable. It's whatever the per approved transmission rate is for the.
But it's a variable cost, all marginal cost, correct?
The energy cost is a variable cost, but the transmission cost is FERC established rate. And it doesn't vary by hour, it's just the transmission access charge rate for the PG&E tax area.
So
there's a capacity element to this, yes.
Okay. All right, good. I think I like the design of the pilot. I don't know how much response we'll have, but this is open only for commercial customers, correct?
This is available to, well, the expanded pilots are available to all customer classes except ag, because we don't have any ag customers right now. But we may be revisiting that with San Joaquin County.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Harper.
Thanks. I was hoping to learn a little bit more about what's mentioned in the conclusion on just the recommendation to participate in the pilots. Just trying to keep pace with the conversation here. There's a lot of good reasons cited in terms of learning about differences across different types of customers, the learnings around communicating complex rate design, so on and so forth. I was wondering if you could just unpack that section a little bit and specifically talk about if there are any like major risks and major benefits that commercial industrial customers could be thinking about.
You're asking from a customer point of view?
Yeah, I think I'm just generally trying to understand what are the major risks and benefits for customers to participate in these.
Yeah, that's sorry. Yeah, the major benefit for customers is they could end up spending less for electricity because they could change their behavior and they could get a marginal energy price for reduced usage in high cost hours. That's the biggest one, and shift load to the lower cost hours. There's no, at least it's currently structured for the pilots, there's no downside that I can see. So if you're a structural benefiter, if you've got load that you can shift, it seems like this is something that you should do. By the same token, how much attention do you really want to spend on your variable energy costs? And I think this is maybe the challenge that we've faced with finding customers who are interested in it, because you might think there'd be a lot of people pounding on the door for this, but so far I haven't seen, notwithstanding the one example.
Thanks. Yeah, that's really interesting. I was wondering if there's a consideration for customers' own staff capacity to like contemplate participation in these programs. If that's something that is expanded through AVA, like technical assistance to understand it in the first place.
I think that might be part of the MNO program. I will just say that even time of use rates seem to be kind of too complicated for most folks. So now instead of just a peak and an off peak or a peak off peak and shoulder, we're going to have 24 separate periods that are different every single day. So 24 times 30, you can automate some of this, but then you bump into the blinking 12 problem, which some of you may remember from VCRs when people didn't program the clocks and they just blinked 12 all day long. So part of the learning from here is going to be how many people are interested enough to do this, how many folks are going to see enough of an financial benefit to be incentivized to do it, and we're going to learn a lot if we do it.
Awesome. Great. 1 second. And thank you very much. Quick question about the committee recommendation. Did you have that financial administrator procurement committee meeting on September 11th?
We did. We took it to the FAP.
What was the recommendation or action? I think you recall.
Don't think that they made a recommendation on it. It was informational item for them, if I recall correctly. Do I have that right, Adrian?
I was not at that meeting.
Okay. Yeah, Michael, do I have that right? Remember?
Yeah, that's true. It was an informational item.
No directions given, just general. Okay, thank you very much. And moving on.
No guidance was given, no vote was taken.
We'll go back to the second round of the conversation. So I think I go with Jim and then go vice chair. So, and we'll take a comment to the meeting.
Does it even come out better with than table 1? Does it even come out better with low adoption or high adoption? And I just don't know.
We come out better with low behavior change, actually. in this analysis. I mean, the high adoption would be a capacity number, so more adoption is more $20 per KW payments. And then more behavior changes is more checks that we have to write. Again, all these numbers are fairly small in the greater scheme of things. But I mean, if we were like just trying to make money off of this, then we want a lot of participation, a lot of participants and low participation on this.
All right, Jim. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you for your great presentation. I just might have missed it, but what is the final outcome of these pilots? And are we going to have a decision made? And is this decision going to be overall? Is it going to be a large change, or are we just going to be allowed to sign up for it as a customer?
Yeah, and anybody who's in one of these rate classes can sign up for the expand pilots. At the end of the pilots, there will be a EMV, right, evaluation, measurement, verification exercise to see what happened with it. And then we'll take.
Will we be able to weigh in? Because the pilot could pick the one that's most beneficial to the business or the community energy, or the most beneficial to our customers. So in the end, what would be the criteria? Of course, that's
another question. I think we'll have to take it up in a couple of years, or in a few years, when we have to have some information and data here versus for today.
It's an interesting study nonetheless.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun. Again, if the board says yes.
My question is related to timeline. When would this begin and what's the process?
Yeah, so we have a subsection here titled Implementation Plan and Timeline. So VGI is targeted to launch at the end of September 2024, obviously coming right up. As a practical matter, what that means is that we would start signing customers up at that point, but the rates wouldn't actually kick in probably until December. So, and again, we have to roll out an MVNO plan as well. So that's the VGI pilot, and then expanded pilots, November 2024, similar caveats. And then possibly adding the ad rates in 2026 with the arrival of San Joaquin and some agricultural customers. So that's the basis of the timeline.
Yeah, I think I saw member Swamita, who's hand raising again.
Yes, the evaluation would it be available for the East Bay Clean Energy customers only, or would it be aggregate evaluation?
Well, AVA would only do EMV for our customers. PG&E, however, I expect will do EMV for a larger slice of customers.
Okay, got it. Yeah, okay. I had one other question. It slips my mind. I'll pause for now. But it's an interesting proposition, and I hope we succeed in attracting enough customers. The last question. VGI, under this pilot, do you anticipate vehicles injecting electricity into the grid, or is it stop charging?
Well, it's bi-directional, which would entail uplift from the vehicles to the grid.
Okay, so that capability will be mixed in.
Yep.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take it to public comment for a second. So there is any public comment. There is none, then you can come back to the consensus with any final questions or comments, or a motion to move this forward to support the board. Any public comments?
There are no hands raised.
Thank you. Just want to make sure that's good. All right, we'll go back to subsequent raise and go this way, and we'll go around the room with my left.
So this is for the right choice. This is the people will be right choice only or renewable 100 applicable for this one.
I thought I saw it said Bright Choice.
So yeah, effect on Eva's value proposition. Since your participating customers will never pay more than under their standard OAT, so I think they could be both. Michael, correct me if I'm wrong about that. Or either.
I'll have to double check. Apologies.
Yeah, I think it's available to either Bright Choice or Renewable 100.
I mean, I know we can request, but I think it'd be great to be for both programs.
I might have to change.
I know, yeah, I feel like sometimes we're incentivizing Bright Choice over Renewable 100.
Thank you. We'll find out. Vice Chair, you have anything to say?
No,
Okay.
it's just change my voting sign.
Okay, great. Maurice.
Have you had any communication with PG&E or with the, what are referred to as automation service providers? And if somebody volunteered, would you have a list of the automation service providers? And, or, you know, a list of qualified providers or recommended providers? How's that going to work?
We have had communication with PG&E, but I'm not sure if they've been at that level of detail. This far. Michael or Kelly, feel free to jump in.
A little hard to hear. If you could repeat that question, I can confirm that it would be available to both Bright Choice and Renewable 100 customers.
Yeah, the question was sort of referencing how some of this is supposed to be happening through automation service providers. Have we talked with PG&E about the mechanics of how automated service providers will fold into all of this? And do we have names for ASPs?
Yeah, that's a great question.
My response was, I'm not sure we've gotten out of that level of implementation detail yet, but if we have, maybe you or somebody else could jump in.
Yeah, good question. I think you're correct. PG&E recently put out a request for proposals to attract some automation service providers. I know some folks have submitted. I don't think PG&E has released a slate of who those automation service providers will be. So more detail to come on that front.
So I wanted to volunteer my few kilowatt hours that are switchable. Would I be able to find automation service provider so I don't have to plug my own refrigerator by looking at the cost and calling up the price of
Yeah, I mean, that's the plan, but part of the point of doing a pilot is to figure all that stuff out.
Okay.
So no further questions, the committee want to entertain a motion to move this forward to the board to recommend it for adoption?
Yeah.
See the hands, I need a motion in a second, please.
I make a motion to move this to board.
I will second.
Perfect. The first, second, any other dialogue from our members in and outside the room? 1, 2, 3. Adrian.
Thank you. Member Landry.
Abstain.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Swamin.
Yes.
Member Marshall.
Yes.
Member Carr.
Abstain.
Member Harper.
Yes.
Member Lewis.
Yes.
Vice Chair Susan.
Yes.
And Chair Hernandez.
Yes.
Motion approved.
Oh,
Sorry. Yes, member different.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. All right, well, I appreciate the dialogue there. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
And then we'll move over to the grants that are being discussed at the upcoming board director EV charging community investment grant. Consider authorizing the CEO to negotiate, execute 2 grant agreements for the purpose of installing community-owned electric vehicle charging studies. Adrian, do you have any speaking to that?
Yes.
Hi, can you repeat what you said? It was kind of hard to understand you.
Will you be speaking to this item? Are you presenting this item, Heidi?
Yes. Yes, I am. Mhm.
Please feel free. Go ahead.
So we are presenting the consideration for two grants. One for they are both for community-owned EV charging stations. And they would be going to California Interfaith Power and Light, one grant for 300,000 over 3 years. And the other would go to Green the Church, also 300,000 over 3 years.
Thank you very much. How do we come to those proposals? Can you just give background? Can you give some background on the proposals, how they came to be in your process?
Sure. So we had a panel of 4 or 5 evaluators internally. Some of the evaluation considerations that we had were around the organization's capacity and the history of meeting similar projects, delivering similar projects. There was also the quality of their proposed plan, so making sure that the plan corresponded to the goals outlined in the RFP. And then they also submitted a budget for a project budget that was evaluated, and there were also references that were submitted along with the proposals. And then out of those 4 proposals, we narrowed it down to 2, and both of these organizations have slightly different locations and audience base. And so they had strong proposals. Yeah, you can see that on here, the breakdown. Yeah, they both had strong proposals, and the outcome would be to have community-owned and operated charging stations, level 2. Collectively, it would be around 7 sites and around 24 to 28 chargers. If you want me to break that up by organization, let me know.
Quick question, Claire. Did you engage any board of directors or CC members to review these proposals before then?
Yes, so for all of these grants, the grants that are part of the community investment grant, part of the work that was done before was a community survey that was released last summer. And then we had a community workshop to get some insight in terms of what the community needed. And then that paired with the various different one-on-one meetings that we had with just getting input from various community-based organizations. There was a proposal for like 5 different grants. This is one of them. And that was the outcome of sort of all that work that went into the first needs assessment.
Thank you for clarifying that, but you did not engage in this process with any board of directors or advisory committee members? It was mostly staff driven? So, yes, just clarify. So that understanding that you went through a process, staff worked through this, evaluated the process, had one-on-one meetings, but there was no additional board or community advisory committee engagement until now on these proposals?
Are you asking if there was sorry, I can't hear you.
Was there board involvement or CAC involvement in these proposals to build them out?
In reviewing them, or?
How was the board involved or not involved, or the CAC involved in this process?
They were involved to the extent of allocating funds for it.
Okay, thank you very much. I will take questions or comments or questions from the board, or excuse me, the committee.
I have.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, Heidi, so I was just curious with these grants. So my understanding is that the funding is going to the entity, so they will own and operate the charging stations. They won't be AVA owned and operated.
That's right. So yes, they will have a payment gateway that they will manage, but they will also be open not just to their constituents, but to
They'll
the
be
public.
public. Yeah. Okay, and then are the grants covering the full cost of the projects, or is there some additional cost that the sites will incur?
No, the grant is covering the full cost. That's why, yeah, it's fewer sites and fewer chargers, but it covers everything.
And are sites requiring electric service upgrades as part of the costs? You know?
The sites that these both organizations are identifying should not require those upgrades. So I think they've each have identified sites already that wouldn't need, that are basically ready to install.
And so it'll be connected to the site's master meter, not separately metered. Will the chargers be separately metered, or will it be connected to the site's master meters? Do you know?
I think they would be connected, but I can double check on that and get back to you.
And then I was curious, is Ava going to have any role in helping setting up the pricing policy for the charging stations? Is it going to be a pass-through charge to customers that'll be the same as the utility rate, or will there be you know, an upcharge to cover, you know, cost of owning and operating the equipment, or will it be discounted? You know, is Ava involved in the pricing policy at all?
We haven't determined the pricing exactly, but the idea is that they would be able to charge and that there would be some revenue, and that revenue should cover the operating costs, ongoing operating costs, as well as, yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then just one final question. Is there any way that community members who are low income, who are on, you know, a qualifying rate plan, CARE, would they have any ability to receive a discounted rate when charging at these public chargers?
That's not something actually that we've considered, but I can, you know, make note of it and talk to the rest of my team to see if there's something that we can figure out.
Yeah, I mean, I think we, you know, I talked about that in the past with Ava when I was in my previous role in City of Fremont, and one of the things that we discussed was, you know, possibly like an RFID card or something that a qualifying customer could have to provide that discounted rate.
Yeah, because they are community owned, the idea is that each community site would set their own pricing.
Yeah. Okay.
And manage that mostly on their own, but that hasn't been really, we haven't discussed that.
Okay, and actually I do have one more question. Is there any requirement that the charging stations be under load management technology software?
I think the only thing they need to have is the Wi-Fi access.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You want to go first?
Go Davis Harper.
Sorry, it was a little choppy. Was it? Oh, okay. Thanks for the presentation. I had a couple of follow-up questions too. And also curious about any kinds of rate discounts, especially for Care for Our customers. But I was wondering if the grant has reporting requirements, and if so, just what that includes. And then secondarily, if the host orgs are required to be like Renewable 100 customers, or if it's open to be either.
Yeah, so it is open. And then in terms of the reporting requirements, yes, so the plan is to have the first site installed within the first year. And part of the reporting requirements is an annual report, basically that summarizes the work that was done in the year. And we have quarterly check-ins to work with the organizations on the process and making sure that they're meeting the milestones for that first year.
Awesome. Thank you.
A lot of damage has been recently been done, people stealing copper and all. Not, are there maintenance requirements mentioned? Are there, uptime? Is there, some sort of, uptime guarantee? Who's gonna maintain it? Are those already been put into place?
Yeah, so part of the proposal, both organizations are working with another entity that's managing basically if they break down, they need someone to come out and fix it. They are contracting someone else to do that, and that is also included in the funds for the grant. So they'll be paying that to them.
Yeah, so that's a big complaint that people go to a station to charge and 1 out of 5 are working,
Yeah.
I can actually comment to that too. There's a bunch of work happening at the state level to improve this challenge in particular. So the California Energy Commission has a website that gives a summary of what the work they're doing, but that, there's legislation, there's work in happening to create a program. It's going to require charging stations and the usage of all network chargers, and then record keeping for all state and ratepayer funded chargers installed after January 1st of this year, requiring all state and ratepayer funded chargers installed after January 1st this year meet a 97% uptime standard for 6 years, and then they share real-time data on availability and accessibility, and by 2026. All of the state ratepayer funded chargers have to meet a 90% successful charge rate attempt for 6 years. So it's happening at the statewide level that, we're going to make sure that chargers are up and running and operating. If they go down, they get fixed.
Business opportunity there.
Well, these ones be enrolled in that?
Yeah, this is the statewide requirements for all publicly accessible charging stations.
Is there any security requirements on those facilities? Because I know there's people concerned about safety in the community. So if you're charging your car, what are the environments like? If there's people charging a vehicle safe or monitored or supported?
I think that would be up to each site, that's not something we've talked about.
I think this goes back to the question of engaging the advisory committee and our board for dialogue before it comes for the consent item. There's a lot of value and opportunity and expertise in the room to help shape these programs as we move these grants forward. If there are any other questions, comments, I would like to see if there's any public comments. If not, then we can come back to the board. 1 second. It's with
Yeah, again, Ava Peters Class representing as a customer of Community Energy as well as Local Clean Energy Alliance. Kind of wanted to touch on 2 things. I wanted to give a vote of confidence to both California Interfaith Power and Light as well as Greenwood Church. Both of them have excellent connections and excellent commitments to environmental justice and to improving access to electrification and access to sustainability resources for churches across California, as well as specifically Ava Community Energy Territory. And so that's one thing I wanted to say, that this is they are both excellent organizations to work with. And then I think the other thing that I wanted to mention was, again, a desire to advocate for expanded funding not just for EV charging, but for general energy resources and energy programs for church, faith centers of worship, and also general community organizations. One thing that I know is that a lot of churches specifically, as well as other community organizations, have talked about how, yeah, we want to do EV charging, but first our roof is leaking. We want to do EV charging, but we barely have funding for our day-to-day programming. Or even we want to do EV charging, but we have a lot of energy efficiency in our building. And so I think this is a good endeavor. This is a good endeavor in terms of improving access to EV charging. But also I wanted to point out that there's a lot to be done in other aspects of energy resources and energy programming. And also, frankly, if we're thinking about a lot of low-income residents, a lot of low-income, both community members of the community and also people who go to these faith-based organizations, a lot of low-income folks don't have access to EV electric vehicles. Although the cost of electric vehicles has gone down, a lot of people still have to use older cars. A lot of people don't have access to be able to purchase newer vehicles. So again, I think this is again a good program, but I think there's a lot to be done before this in terms of energy efficiency, electrification, and energy programming for both places of worship and also generally community organizations. So thank you.
Thank you. Member Gonzalez, do you have any public comment?
Yeah, so thank you for those comments. I think generally this is a really exciting grant opportunity. There, as you heard from the public comment, I agree, these are both really great organizations that do a lot of engagement with the community, especially communities that tend to be underrepresented. I was curious if Heidi, you can tell us the locations of where these chargers are planning going in. Are they spread throughout a number of different cities? Are they concentrated in certain locations?
They are spread out through our service area, and a couple of sites, I think at least one for each organization, will be in the Stockton, San Joaquin area once we start serving there. But the rest will be, East Bay and throughout the service area.
Okay. I would, suggest that, and probably some of the analysis already been done, but I think there's a really great opportunity here to engage people who live nearby the churches, to think about charging vehicles at those locations as a community amenity. And I would encourage there to be outreach from, AVA in partnership with these organizations to those neighboring communities, and also to consider bringing in information and resources about used EV in particular, because there are a lot of used EVs on the market at a really low price these days. And I think that it really helps to reduce that barrier to entry for folks to be able to get into an EV. And if they have access to a local charging station, then it might be, that tipping point for them to actually, make the decision to transition to an electric vehicle.
I will add, part of the grant funding will cover so that both organizations can provide education and awareness in the form of community meetings before the launch of the site.
Sure.
Well, I really like what he said about solving the problem with the ability of say an apartment building or the access to EV charging, because you can't parking in the garage, you get parking on the street. And as a church member, I think churches would love it, because charge your car for an hour going to church. This is an opportunity. And so, when we're seeing all of these charges at the coffee shop or library or something like that, I think the churches are in the community. And so it would be an excellent target for EV charging. But thank you.
Just quickly, comments, I think looking at the programming beyond just EV chargers, looking at systematically, how can we make a difference in the community? These grants are good, but what else does the program say? How do you really program it thoroughly? That only EV chargers, but vehicles like mentioned, and the use and promotion. I think we have to look at a package program to really execute this campaign to have EV chargers in our communities where they need it most. How we partner with large organizations, opportunities for employment to have these EV chargers, to get these EV charger EVs. I think there's more there. Opportunities for able to partner in the community deeper. I just think that's why also we have these partnerships with staff and the CC and the board to look and evaluate these grants together. And I think that's what my initial question was, how will we engage, not engage in these dialogues about these grants? So moving forward, I'd like to see us more engaged. I know when I was on the board, we looked at grant opportunities and recommended evaluating them. I think it's important. Maybe the board members were asked when there's less resources, but I think there's still that partnership opportunity to engage the board and committee members with their expertise to really build out these grants so they not only are good, but they can be great. With that, I'll look for a motion, if any, or a clarifying question.
I just want to comment on what you're saying. I think another opportunity for these community grants is thinking about equity in terms of trying to reduce emissions in each different city. We're finding that multifamily homes and rental properties, it's very hard to retrofit these properties. And it seems like something like a community grant like this might help cities meet some of their climate action goals. I'd like to make a motion to, I guess, approve this.
For approval.
Recommending for approval.
I'll second.
Thank you, Richard. Comment by member Lewis.
Friendly amendment to include a recommendation to discuss the programs with the CAC and board before they go out or during the process.
I concur.
Second, running to that amendment.
Yeah, I'm just kind of curious if that's the right place to and make that recommendation, because it's really much broader than just this grant in particular. So I'm wondering if maybe it actually fits within the next agenda item, which is request to place items on future CAC agendas.
It could be, like, I hear the idea is really to get the CAC more involved in the grant discussion. Rather than just bringing it to the CAC that the board would consent item. And based on my history, there was that element of engaging the board in these grant dialogues. So I think we're looking to maybe have that once again. And if you'd like to add something on the next item, we'll see, we can discuss item engagement as well. So we can do both if you'd like to.
All right. Yeah, I guess I'll just kind of put it out there for consideration to the next agenda item for members to consider pushing out there, but I'm okay with that.
All right, thank you very much. There's a common dialogue.
I'm just gonna make a motion to support.
So there's a first and second already, amendment with the second motion and second, so we clarify. Then we can go ahead and have a vote on switch the other time. Great, thank you.
Can you repeat the motion again, please?
It is to board consent item. These grants that are on the table, both the involvement of board and or CAC members in the future. Is it and or?
And
provide the opportunity for the CAC and board members to be engaged in this dialogue around the grants.
Yeah,
perfect. Thank you. Is that fair?
Summer, Larry.
Yes.
And so, yes.
Yes. Great, thank you. Member Landry.
Yes.
Member Robinson.
Yes.
Member Swan.
Yes.
Thank you. Member Lockman.
Yes.
Member DeFranco.
Yes.
Member Carr.
Yes.
Member Hart.
Yes.
Member Lewis. Yeah. Vice Chair Susan.
Yes.
Chair Hernandez.
C.
Passes unanimous.
All right, with that, we'll go to C8. CAC member and staff announcements, including requests to place items on future CAC agenda items. Member DeFranco, did you want to speak to the item or suggestion?
Okay, well, it sounds like there's interest from the committee in really, being more engaged in not just maybe the grant, decision-making process, or, even conversations about formation of grants, or review of grant applications, but, and to me, it seems like probably that extends to broader, program, pilot program design as well. So, I would, put it out there and see if we perhaps have some discussion on ways that we think the CAC could be more involved in those processes. Having come from the other side, when I was a staff member for Nayabat City, we had the ability to talk to staff on a monthly basis and hear what was happening and give some feedback, but I think there was also some similar sentiment, like we're engaged a little too late in the conversation where it's not necessarily a full conversation where there's ability to really provide input and help with program design, but more, here's the program that staff has developed and we're letting you know that this is what it is, and if you have any comments, let us know. And so I think that there's generally a little, frustration from what I've observed in the CAC that seems to happen here as well. So I would just, ask the rest of the committee, like how you would be interested in having a conversation to propose some changes to that process and have more involvement in the actual, creation of programs that are happening. And a lot is happening all the time at the staff levels. How do we involve in the things that make sense for us to be involved in, but then also trust that staff can do their jobs and do their jobs well on things that are maybe a little less relevant to us or more tangential to our purpose as the CAC.
Yeah, I think part of that is going to be the ongoing dialogue that we have with the member to see how we can get that feedback, how we want to be involved more, how often we want to be sharing, having conversation with Adrian, or more committee. It's an opportunity to get engaged in the grant process through this dialogue or this subcommittee. Really evaluate what that looks like for us as a committee. And then we can give that guidance to the board overall and staff in partnership. I think we continue dialogue in November. We'll have Howard here. You can listen to us a little bit more one-on-one, and then making sure staff supports further involvement in the agency and share our expertise and interests. I think that makes sense. Thank you. So, I don't see further comments. Fair members? Yeah, member. Please.
So I wanted to, it segues really from what Rich was talking about in that, so I wanted to let you know that, so I'm also serving on the City of Piedmont's electrification task force. And we're trying to meet our climate goals, and we're particularly having trouble with incentivizing and figuring out ideas for getting residential changes, solar, heat pumps, just basically to reduce our residential footprints. And so I was hoping, or wanted to talk or suggest that if there's a way that we can have a dialogue maybe in November about what other cities are doing and how they're succeeding, and maybe exchange ideas. And one of the things that Piedmont is doing, I think it'll be in the next court meeting, and in a month or two, to put together a survey where we're going to ask our 10,000 residents what Why are they not changing out their heat pumps and furnaces? What do they need? What kind? So trying to have dialogue so we can share that information with other cities. Maybe that would be helpful. And then on the second subject, I'll pick up on your comment about Renewable 100. I would like to know more about why Renewable 100 is staying so expensive and why it seems like we're incentivizing Bright Choice more than Renewable 100. And there's an article which I can send out in our next packet because that's how we share that. I understand. The New York Times had an article by David Wallace Wells, who's their climate writer, and he talked about that essentially in Texas and in California, energy is being produced by solar that is cheaper than other new sources of electricity. And the price of solar panels is becoming smaller, a fraction of the true cost of generating and using electricity from it. And consumers are actually paying in some places in California and Texas to consume electricity. And so without going through all this, I'm just wondering why, with all the rapid battery revolution and stuff, why are our rates going up when it seems like they should be going down as we're getting more battery and more solar? And I think we should take a deep dive into the understanding that, because we already have the highest rates. We really need to figure out what can we do so for everybody. And I think if, as a CAC, we can advise the board on that, that would be huge. And then, anyway, so that was my 2 points.
Thank you. I think these are all great subjects to be able to work through a work session and have dialogue and general consensus by the CSC. Why is the way things are today? How can we make it better? What are the things we can do? How can we staff? How can we give some direction to the board, to give some staff, or to the leadership to move in the right direction we want to go? So I think it's be evolving the way we work together. And these items that the board does here are important, but understand that we want to be more of a working session, think tank, or be able to solve some of the issues and work with staff collaboratively to be engaged and be informed and make a difference in the community in our role here. I think that's what I'm seeing more and hearing more, which is great, which is what I was thinking we were talking about with Howard about further engaging over the summer. Anything else?
Well, I just wanted to remind people about the public comments that submitted.
Yes.
Rise in total electric rates that I've been paying and over the past 10 years, and how it's gone up so much since in 2025. That's like double. It's in the past.
I read, but I was thinking of the rule of I was thinking of the rule of 7-2. And what that means is these prices, if given a percentage of increase, divided by 7-2, it would basically equate to, I think, over 10 years, $2. And so since PG&E is fairly regular on increasing its rates about 10%, about roughly 10% a year, that would fit moderate. Nevertheless, it should not be something that's automatic. We'll expect to see another double of it in 10 years, which would be horrible.
Any other comments for our members?
It's tripled in 10 years. I agree. It's tripled.
Well, then that's wrong.
And so furthermore, I think for public comment, there will be the opportunity to make more public comment about the nuclear application at the board of directors meeting on the 18th. So please tune in, or listen after the fact, and we'll see the vice chair that reporting on our activities in the evening. But that's by 8:06, and we'll adjourn. Thank you.
Thanks all. Have a good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That